It's beautiful music on Y, bringing us to 2016, and that was the last good year in my life. I'm joking. Look, man, if you're only tuning in right now, this is Uncensored on Y with me, Dimpo Mokhoto.
No tools, Umata. We're coming to you live from the Johannesburg CBD. I'm about to get into a panel discussion that will explore how Gauteng's 2025 and 26 departmental budgets reflect the real needs of young people in South Africa, and whether the plans and allocations are addressing systematic issues in education, youth safety, and creative economy.
Yeah, 100%. These are conversations that we have as the youth on the socials and even in our, intimate spaces. So we thought we should bring it on air today, and that's why we are joined by different chairpersons today. We have Poni Mhlongo, who is the Portfolio Committee Chairperson for the Gauteng Department of Education. In our presence as well, we have Osi Diseho Tlebere, who is, the Portfolio Committee Chairperson for the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. Rebandile Masuku is also here, who is the Portfolio Committee Chairperson for the Gauteng Department of Community Safety. And we're going to be really just unpacking the conversation with them. Welcome.
Welcome, and thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for having us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Much.
We're going to start really just with a brief introduction of, each one of you. And we want to know, what is the role of your committee in ensuring budget accountability and alignment with the performance plans? We'll start with the Department of Education.
Thank you very much. Basically, our work in the main is oversight as portfolio committees. We stand as watchdogs to the department so that they are accountable for their funds as they are implementing agents for the different departments that they have. So basically in education, we do oversight in schools, we do oversight on the school nutrition program, the scholar transport, there's issues of infrastructure related issues where the department may have to build schools or maintenance of the schools, but the overall work that they do in the department, we must ensure that there is accountability. We receive reports from them. We call any officials within the department to come before the portfolio committee to give us the reports on whatever that is required. So in the main, our work is oversight. It's also lawmaking within the legislature, but that is now collective work. So our biggest mandate as well is on public participation, which we think is something that is quite important, so that people understand that everything that we do must be known. We must also be held accountable by the public that elected us to be where we are. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Now we will move over to the Gauteng Department of Community Safety. Rebandile, you can also answer the same question really and tell us what is your role, what is the role of your committee in ensuring budget accountability and alignment with performance plans?
Yeah, I think mostly it's the issues that Chairperson Moiponi has actually raised, on issues of oversight and public participation, and also making sure that we are able to make laws. But importantly for our committee, we do oversight on police, in making sure that the police do what they are supposed to be doing, which keeping us safe, and also making sure that the Department of Community Safety per se does what it's supposed to do in terms of mobilizing the public in making sure that our communities are safe. And we also do go to other areas, when you look at education, we look at health in terms of the safety of those public facilities. So in a broad sense, we are a committee that's supposed to be an interface, a bridge between the community and, the legislature and government.
Lovely. And I think just to wrap it up, then we will also ask the same question to the Portfolio Committee Chairperson of the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Ostiseho Tlebere. You can also answer the same question and tell us what is the role of your committee in ensuring budget accountability and alignment and performance plans.
Yes, ours is an oversight, which is mainly what we do. We do public participation, but in the mainly, our role is to make sure that what departments plans to do matches what gets delivered. We track their performance We check the annual report, the commitment that they will have made in SOPA. It's actually what is delivered, but also ours in sports is obviously an oversight in sports, school sports, facilities, our stadiums, athletes, young talent, creatives, industry, cultural affairs, recreation, our facilities. So mostly our sector deals mostly with youth sector. Hence I said I'm a younger.
Yeah. No, don't worry, noted. Noted. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
That might be stolen. I think we've got a good sense of what each department does now. We've got a couple of questions that are specific to each department. I think we're going to go to the Gauteng Department of Education first. Now, Chairperson, there's been a growing frustration over the infrastructure delays and overcrowding in Gauteng schools. What plans are in place to address this issue of infrastructure and quality learning within these environments?
Firstly, I think what's important to note is that Gauteng is sort of a destination of interest for quite a number of people. So we do face in-migration, but we also face migration. There's over 30,000 foreign national learners that are currently in our schools. These are learners that are not budgeted for, but because the Constitution says that every child has a right to education, we therefore can't turn them away. There's quite a problem with overcrowding because of the in-migration that I'm talking about. And we do note that the department has explained to us that there are infrastructural challenges, and some of them arise because some of the schools were built in the 70s and the 60s, and there's limitations in terms of the budget that is given to the various departments to address some of these things. However, what we would have suggested to the department is that there must be public-private partnerships that they do so that we address the issues of infrastructure, because you can't rely on one department of infrastructure to deliver on around 2,000 schools. So some of the programs that they are doing, firstly, would be a self-built program where they give schools budget so that they can add whatever classes that need to be added. Secondly, there is a program that they do, a partnership that they have with the DBSA. DBSA is the Development Bank of Southern Africa, which is also building certain schools in and around the province. We have seen that it's actually better to also outsource this work, because depending or relying on one department that caters for all the other departments within the province becomes problematic and strenuous, and therefore you end up not getting your value for money. Hence why you find these infrastructure challenges that you find. The second part that I want to raise is that we raise extremely sharply on companies that come and take work but do not complete that particular type of work. We have consistently called on the department that those people must be blacklisted, because you cannot be given work in another school whereas you did not finish the previous school. That is us doing wasteful expenditure, and that is where we come in as the portfolio committee to ensure that when they say we have blacklisted so-and-so, that so-and-so does not get a job that they are given to do in another school. So in relation to infrastructure, really, I think that there's more that can be done, but also do appreciate these interventions that are currently underway.
Chairperson, we talk about wasteful expenditure. Just chat to us about Lakeside Primary School, which despite a total of 53 million being spent on the school's upgrade, is still unusable and still unstable. Can you chat to us about that?
The Lakeside Primary School has been quite one of our problematic areas, to a point where we took a decision to do a joint oversight with infrastructure, because our schools are built by the Department of Infrastructure, but we are the end user as the clients in education. So what would have then happened is that at times you arrive, DID says it's education says it's DID. So we took that initiative to say, let's bring the officials from DID and officials from education to come into one place. And we undertook an oversight visit to Lakeside Primary School. What we noted is that outside of the department's slowness, there's also some intervention that is coming from the community in the form of these business forums. The project at Lakeside Primary School was stopped by gangsters who parade themselves as business forums, and we must call against that thing. But also what I'm happy about is that the project is now continuing, And we must now note that there has been some time, a lull of about 7 months, where the contractor was unable to finish their work because there were business forums that were saying that the project can't continue unless we are given this amount or we are given this type of work. And those are some of the things that we need to also look into as at people that are masquerading as business forums, but also holding our projects at ransom, because these are projects that are meant for our communities, projects that are meant for our kids to uplift and empower these schools.
So the school is still not usable?
No, the school is functional. The school is functional. It's a few classes where it would have been, this was meant to be a science lab, but the work was not finished, so they can't use it as a science lab. There was, in one of the classes, there was even a gas that was put inside of the school instead of outside the school, outside of the classroom. So some of those things would be the things that the current contractor is dealing with to ensure that there is completion, so that there are no gaps within the classrooms, and the building of the security gate for the new securities. So that those would be the issues in relation to Lakeside Primary School.
And are there any adequate plans and funding for post-school opportunities like technical training, digital literacy, and entrepreneurship, really? Because unemployment is a really big deal in the country.
Okay, so though some of those things would fall under probably higher education, but I do think that it's things that are relevant for us, especially even myself as a young person that is in the education space, because these are interlinked and intertwined. So what is important and what we have seen happening within the department is that they have what we now call schools of specialization. There's about over 36 schools of specialization, wherein you understand that in this school we specialize in technical skills, here we specialize in education, here we specialize in commerce, and these kids have been going into competitions around the world. Some have won beautiful awards, and I think those types of programs then invite different stakeholders and different universities. I can tell you about Sicelo Shiteka Secondary School, where 100% of the learners were able to be accepted into different universities, and those are the types of schools of excellence that we are trying to push for. Hence why we want the prioritization of STEM subjects, that is science, technology, engineering, as well as mathematics, so that there is a transition from a particular point and a skills development type of thing. The additional thing that the Department of Education does is that they have partnered with different SETAs, so that there is multi-certification that happens for the learners that are in these different schools, so that if you leave matric, maybe you're not sure whether you want to go to varsity yet or not, you do have some form of a certificate that you can use. But what we must continuously call for, I think, as young people and as a generation, is the scrapping out of experience for entry-level jobs, because that contributes quite a lot to the unemployment that we end up having in our country. And it's something that ourselves as policymakers, it's something that we must fight to push for, to see it happening within our country or in our legislatures.
Right, like I did say earlier on, if you're only joining the vibe right now, in fact, Skim Saka, where are we? We are coming to you live from the Gauteng Provincial Legislature in Johannesburg, and we are in conversation right now with different chairpersons, really just, exploring how Gauteng's 2025 or 26 department budgets reflect the real need of young people. And amongst us right now, we are joined by the Portfolio Committee Chairperson of the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Disego Hlebere. We are going to talk about my industry now, the industry that is very much contested, especially on the socials and amongst us, with my peers. The creative industry often feels that, the art budgets are inaccessible and I don't know, maybe not enough. How are you working towards supporting new talent and driving economic transformation and inclusivity?
I think that point and that frustration is valid. That's why we are pushing for transparency in how projects and artists are funded. We have asked for clear criteria like fairer adjudication panels and public publishing of funding outcomes. We are also insisting that rural and township creatives are prioritized, because talent is not just incentive. That's that's how far we have went.
Yeah. Is there a strategic plan to build or refurbish community arts centers and sporting facilities across all regions? For instance, Naki Jokomahikeng, we had Bumabana and all of these growing up, and we look now and we're like, where are all of these facilities that we had growing up?
Yes, indeed, and it's overdue. Over 180 million is allocated for upgrading township sports infrastructure and art spaces. We'll have had the premier in last year's SOPA promising that there's going to be refurbishment of the Bompatalatsani. When we grew up, we had Bompatalatsani where creative artists used to go there and showcase their talents. And this year, several libraries and facilities are being upgraded across the province. But strategy is not enough. We want timelines, we want contractors held accountable, and we want communities involved.
One thing that we cry about a lot in the industry are the rates, the royalties. It's a conversation we've had far too much for years now. Artists and talent have voiced their concerns on royalties and fair rates, right? Now, how is your committee currently, just holding the department accountable for making sure that these systems secure long-term income and stability for artists?
It's real issues, and our committee is pushing for the improved contracting and fair compensation, especially when artists perform at public events. We are also pushing the department to engage with national legislation process that could strengthen royalty protection. We've been clear, if the public sector books you in, it must pay you fairly. So it's something that as the committee we are pushing with national department, because it must be holistic project. You are not only booked in Gauteng, but you will be booked nationally. So it must be a holistic approach on how the departments at national level will then cascade it down to us. But as the committee, we are really pushing for it.
But just as a follow-up, what does a fair rate look like? Have you guys gotten that far to establish what do fair rates in fact look like in South Africa for talent?
We have not gone as far as that, but we're intending through public participation, petitions, and writing to us, engaging with the committee. When we go, we will then get an idea on how fair rates means and what is fair rates in real essence, and what does it do for someone that fair rates, because you must be able to live after that. We were in South Korea as a committee, because South Korea is big on K-pop, K creatives. One of the strategy that they are using, they are saying we identify talents, and then we said, what can we do for you? We take you in for the next 3 years. We fund you. We expose you, and then after you've been exposed, after 3 years, we are no longer our responsibility. You can now make your own money and be able to sustain yourselves. And I think it's a real challenge that we have. We can't have one artist every year. When there are funding application, it's you again. For the next 10 years, it's you. And then in public participation platform, you are the only one who cries. What about the grassroots level? What about the upcoming one? We must be able to say, you can come in, we nurture you, we expose you, we provide you with the support. After that, you can then exit the system so that others can be able to be afforded the same opportunities.
And any hope for legislation being introduced formally to protect talent?
Yes, that will be done.
Yay!
Okay. I hope so. These questions are personal for us, but something that affects everyone in the country is our safety. We're now going to move on to the Gauteng Department of Community Safety and chat to Bandile Masuka, who is the chairperson of that department. Khutman, My question for you is, how is the department ensuring that safety education and anti-crime awareness campaigns are reaching young people both in formal and informal areas?
Yeah, I think what is important, maybe first we need to distinguish between the portfolio committee, which is us here in the legislature, and the department, because we are the ones that hold the MECs and the premier accountable on things that they've promised to do. So if they've said they're going to raise the awareness, they're going to run programs, so it becomes our responsibility to make sure that the MECs and the department do that.
You keep them in check,
essentially. We keep them in check, essentially, and to even make sure that everything that they have committed to do in the coming financial year that we are discussing, 25-26, they are able to do. Our main focus in this area now as a portfolio committee, we are pretty much interested in issues relating to gender-based violence, and how the Domestic Violence Act is implemented and how the mobilization on the ground is done. The department has got a program called Siyabangena Brigades, which is a group of individuals who go door to door to our households to make sure that they educate the public about gender-based violence. So those are the things that are important that we are looking at, to make sure that they said they are going to do that, and we are looking to make sure that they're able to deliver on that promise.
So is there a budget that's actually been allocated towards visible policing and solving some of the issues that you just mentioned?
Yes, there is an amount that has been put aside and different strategies that have been actually given. You will know that in the past 2 years, the department has introduced what they call the Gauteng traffic ordinance, known as Amapanyaza, which is one of a program that was introduced to increase visibility at ward level. And that's one of the areas that they're looking at. The second one is the sprawling out or the delivery of CCTV cameras across our townships, our hostels, and our schools. And we have seen that they've been delivering on that promise. And the other one is just the general usage of the technology in terms of drones, which will help in terms of patrolling the areas. So we are looking at that situation as a portfolio committee to make sure that the implementation does happen. We are happy to report that last week, the department has actually was in West Rand, delivering almost 200 CCTV cameras.
Is the same thing happening in the rural areas, Gwindawo? Zilali, for example, because you'll find places that don't even have a police station. I'm sure you know about this. Is there anything being done in those types of areas apart from the townships and places closer to town?
We are lucky as Gauteng because we're an urban province in the majority, in the main, and the rural parts of our province is mainly in Citybang, in West Rand, where we are having similar engagements. Last 2 weeks ago, we had a public participation meeting in an area called Foshville. I'm not sure if you know it, but it's one of the last towns before you get into Northwest, which is a semi-rural area. And we assessed the police stations around there, in Wedela and in Foshville. And we realized that the policing is different because it's a farm area in the majority. So we do have different ways on how the department has to deliver safety in those areas.
I think these answers, in fact, that you're giving us are shedding a lot of light on the situations that we often complain about and the questions that we have. But I think let's take it back to you, Mayor Muiponi Mhlongo. We want to know, right, in your view, which area of your oversight responsibility requires urgent action in the next 6 months? We're narrowing it down to now, the year's almost over. In the next 6 months, what can we expect?
Okay, so the expectations that we have, there are particular schools that we are concerned with. But firstly, let me break it down into 3 parts. I want to speak about scholar transport. I want to speak about school nutrition. I want to speak about schools with learners with learning disabilities. So on the school nutrition part, what we have been doing And I think we do have some success stories in relation to what I was speaking about in terms of blacklisting, wherein we would have done an oversight visit to Tsirela Primary School in the Val. And we found that the food that was being served there would have been rotten food that is not fresh, food that is not conducive for any child to have. And through our intervention as the portfolio committee, we were able to get that service provider to be removed from the database of the education, because we can't have schools where there are situations where you find that people are not providing what they are being paid for. So school nutrition is one of the biggest things that we are concerned about, because it feeds at least about 1 million learners across the schools in Gauteng. The second part, which is scholar transport that caters to learners that would travel over 5 kilometers to school, is another area of oversight where we have done some work. There are certain schools in Togoza where we would enter into a bus and you find that this bus has a huge hole inside. So it's not roadworthy. You can't have learners traveling in those buses. Luckily enough, we were with the MEC for transport, and we were able to remove that service provider from the list at education so that they don't provide those services. The other part that I want to talk to is the school with, we call them LSEN schools, learners with educational disabilities or needs. There are certain schools where you find that things are going really well, but there are other areas where there can be improvement. Our current focus, which was part of our quarterly report that we delivered in the legislature last week, it was on a school called Ezibeleni Elsen School, which is in the Katoras area in Eguruleni. That school finds itself in a situation where there's a sinkhole inside the school. There's amazamas that are coming through to try and enter through the sinkhole. So it's not a safe environment for those learners, and there are learners that are living with disabilities. So our focus area for the next 6 months really would be on those areas of school nutrition, scholar transport, schools with learners with special needs. And we are going to ensure that we hold the department accountable and see that there is safety in our schools.
Yo, lovely.
And just over to you, Medesego, actually, Ausi. Would you say committee oversight on departments is effective and translates to tangible service delivery and government accountability?
Yes, I will say when done properly, it is, but only if you are bold. Oversight is not a tea party. Obviously, it's a constitutional duty. In our committee in sports, arts, culture and recreation, we've called out delays. We have challenged irregular appointments and also flagged underuse of facilities. And we are seeing improvements, but there's still a long road ahead, obviously. But we are probably saying by March 2026. There will be many changes, and you can hold us as accountable on that. We are pushing the department because ours is to hold the department accountable and make sure that the MECs and the department deliver on its mandate, what the commitment that they will have done to the public obviously matches the monies that are around. When you say you have built schools, we want to see that. When we say school sports Wednesday, and when we see 624 national champion, that is what we want to see. When we want to see infrastructure, we want to see Wi-Fi, accessible libraries being afforded. So that is what the department, the committee is holding the department on.
And I haven't seen a library in so
long. A well-built one.
It's concerning. It's worrying.
A well-maintained one.
Khutman Mandile, I just need to ask you as a chairperson, how can the public, especially young people, hold departments accountable between now and the next budget cycle?
Yeah, I think what is important is to make sure that they follow our program, because we do have a whole lot of public participation programs when we do police station visits, where we get the station commanders of those police stations to report to the public on the work that they do. So it's one of the aspects that we we are actually quite passionate about, to make sure that the public does participate and hold the police accountable. And the second one is to also encourage, particularly young people, because I don't think police themselves on their own can be able to do all the policing. We need young people to get involved, in community police forums, in patrolling, and also in programs where they create the awareness. So it's an important aspect of our work, and the department has promised that they will use all the equipment and the budget that they have to mobilize the community. Like I've said, I've spoken about the Siyabangena Brigade, which is a group of a unit of individuals who go door to door and raise awareness around issues around GBVF. So it's an important thing, and also the media must also come into the space to encourage young people, because police themselves are not going to be able to do it without everyone getting involved in policing.
I was actually going to ask about that in terms of the culture around young people getting involved, because young people will say snitches get stitches. So
because they do.
Well, yeah. So wanting to, get involved in your community safety, is there a plan as to how you approach young people and make them want to be a part of policing and bettering their community?
In most police stations, one of the things, the programs that has been put up, is what they have to establish is what they call the CPF youth desks, which is supposed to be specifically aimed at programs around young people. For an example, if you look at the police station in Brooklyn and Sunnyside in Pretoria, where it's mainly residents and students from residences from universities, and the whole area it's almost a university precinct. So the policing should be different, and we know that the youth desk will play an important role just at the peer level to mobilize and talk to young people at that level. We can't expect other people to make us feel safe if we ourselves don't contribute to the safety of everyone else.
That's beautiful. But now I think this question is going to really be applicable to all the chairpersons, here tonight. We talk a lot on social media. A lot of conversations are driven on social media. And we wanted to know, insofar as social media is concerned and the frustrations that are voiced on there, as elected representatives, do you plan, in fact, how do you plan on including young people in these conversations and leading these conversations online?
I think that's a very interesting question. Yeah. It's a very good one, because we are a generation of people that are really present on the social media. And we do have our own social media as the legislature, the provincial legislature. We do also monitor what young people do in their own social medias. Some of the schools that we'd visit would be because someone said on the socials, and we've seen that, there's 1, 2, 3 happening at a particular school. Then we are able to go to check what happened in that particular school. And I think the other important thing that I'm glad that I'm seeing as a young chairperson is that in our public engagements, there's quite a number of young people who have taken up the roles of being in school governing bodies, and they've taken up that role of just being able to participate when we have stakeholder engagements, because I do think that it's important for us to, as much as we do complain, and there are challenges that we complain about on social media, but to also play an active role in trying to be the change or make the change that we want to see. So that is something that actually I must comment on my part, that I have been able to see around people that are in our generation.
Now, just before we let you go, because we are, running out of time a little bit, we just want to know really, what does each representative here want every young listener to take away from this roundtable discussion that we've just had? Now, maybe we'll start with you.
I think it's really important for young people to understand governance and to be actively involved in governance and in governance in different forms, because I think there is a misconception that government is just the executive, that would be your premiers, your MEC, the people that you see on the social media or in the media every day, but there's quite a lot of work that we do behind the doors. The work that you guys, the same questions that you pose to us is the questions that we pose to the departments. So I would want to see young people being more active when we are calling public participation meetings, so that they're able to tell us and give us a mandate to say, hey, we elected you guys to be there, so this is what we want to see happening, and these are the types of changes that we want to see. Because we can't necessarily always stick to old systems and systems. There must be some evolution. There can't be stagnancy. The change is the only thing that is consistent. So we want to see young people participating more. They must not say, I'm not interested in politics. Dude, you must be interested in politics. It affects your life one way or another. You must be interested in who's going to lead your country. You must be interested on who is your counselor, because one way or another, these are the people that are going to take decisions that will affect you tomorrow. Yes.
I love that. I love the dude also, because it's very, very relevant right now. Rabandilo, you can also answer the same question.
It's just going to add on what Chairperson Moipone have said, that we generally want young people to get involved in everything, in every aspect of society, even in politics. So what we're encouraging to do as the legislature is to increase our platform in terms of our public participation program, that we don't only end up with meetings only, because I think young people won't want to come only to like something like looks like a rally and a complaining session, but they will be able to get into their Twitter, get into their socials, to come in and participate in these platforms and raise their issues, because the majority of the people in the country, or even in Gauteng, are young people, and Gauteng is a young province, and we want young people to be part of. And crime, safety in all respects, whether you go to the groove, you go to school, you go to church, your feeling of being safe is important. So we want young people to participate in those actual programs.
Osisego, over to you.
And also know your public representatives. Hold your MPL accountable. And if things don't happen, tell us. We'll take it up. Email us, tag us, attend public participation. When we call this public participation of sport, arts, culture, and recreation, I'm often surprised that it's old people, that attends. There's no representatives of young people. Where are these boom rapper that are always at the corners?
Abo yo-yo.
Where are they? When we are there, we need to see them, more of them, so that they can also explain to us what needs to be done, and we'll take it up with the department and the MEC.
Yeah, lovely.
I'm glad you guys hold these departments accountable. We ask you to maintain doing that. I also appreciate that you're holding us as young people accountable. Because we are guilty of not caring enough about what's happening in our country. So thank you to all three of you. Thank you also for sharing your words of wisdom. This is us having a discussion, of course, that explores how Gauteng's 2025 departmental budgets reflect the real needs of young people. And maybe that's you.
Yeah, for sure. And if you missed the entire conversation, you can of course catch it on the Y app, and we have been joined and in conversation right now by different representatives. Really, we were joined by Memi Puni Mklongo, who is the Portfolio Committee Chairperson of the Gauteng Department of Education. In our presence as well, we have Ose Disego Tlebere, who is the Portfolio Committee Chairperson of the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. And in our presence as well, we had Re Bandile Masuku, who is the Portfolio Committee Chairperson of the Gauteng Department of Community Safety. And I think the takeaway today is, let us not only speak about this on the socials, but also participate on the ground.
Yeah. In real time, as we like to say.
In real time. It's uncensored on Y with me, Dimpo, and Tools.
Each step is a flex. Every sneaker drop is a rise to the top. Zwagala, claim your throne as the next Russian Bear King of Kicks. Go head to head with your favorite sneakerheads here on Y. Tune in to Uncensored with Tools Madala and Dimpo. Or hit up at YFM using the hashtag King of Kicks to win fresh new sneakers. Yafi! Final winners head straight to the vault for a shot at 300K in kicks. Russian Bear, next level. Not for sale to persons under 18.
Y has made a promise to comply with its license conditions. If you think it doesn't, submit your complaints to the programs manager within 7 days. You can post your complaints to Y at number 4 Albury Road, Dunkeld West, Extension 8, Sandton, 2196, or email info@yfm.co.za. The programs manager will respond in writing within 3 days of receiving your complaint. If you're still dissatisfied, send your complaint to the BCCSA at block number 8, Burnside Island Office Park, 410 Jan Smuts Avenue, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall, or call 011-326-3130. You can also email bccsa@napsa.co.za. Non-stop hits on the Unstoppable Y.